Welcome to Leadership Beyond Burnout. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson. This is the sanctuary for leaders who are done pretending everything's fine while they silently run on fumes. Here we explore what it truly means to heal, lead, and succeed without sacrificing your soul or sanity. In each episode, we invite bold, brilliant minds who've navigated burnout, breakthrough, and bold reinvention. Now, I'm going to be your host today and actually do the whole episode. I'm very excited about this today. This isn't just leadership as usual. This is the revolution of the resilient, and you're invited to pull up a seat to the fire. Let's dive right in. Today is a special topic because we all know that leaders are supposed to be available. And of course, not with any overtime because that's just part of your salary. So I wanted to talk about the regulated available leader because you do not have to be available 24/7 to be a good leader. Contrary to popular opinion, I've seen this happen in the civilian sector as well as the military sector. Your team does not need you constantly. And hopefully you haven't built a system where they do, but they need you more so regulated, present, and predictable. Today, I'm going to talk about how to stay resilient as a leader and still be deeply available to your team because we don't want them to flounder either by setting these strong boundaries that can't be breached. So we're going to figure out how to be deeply available to them without burning out and without becoming everyone's emotional 911 or their emotional support vet, so to speak. Because here's the truth. When leaders are depleted, teams feel it. Your nervous system leads the room, whether you believe that or not. So let's talk about how to design your availability in a way that protects your energy. And actually, this will make your team feel safer and more supported. We learn how to be available without the overload. Because let's face it, most leaders were taught, I know I was back in the day, one of two extremes. Either my door is always open, I love that phrase because it's never true, or I'm so slammed, people can't reach me at all. You know, those moments where you just lock the door or you don't even come into work and there's no direction. They don't know what to do. And sometimes some teams are worried. So neither one of those extremes is sustainable. And both of them quietly train your team to be anxious and reactive. And that's definitely something we don't want when we talk about creating innovation within our teams. And there is a better way. Availability should not be a free for all. Availability needs to be a rhythm. And that rhythm, it starts with you deciding, when am I in deep work? That work that you can't be disturbed when you're doing. And when are you truly available to your people? Deep work hours are those blocks of time where you are focused on the really important, high value work that you were hired to do. This is when you want to avoid meetings. There are no walk-ins. There are no quick questions. I always love that. Quick question because it's never a quick response because it's usually complicated. You want to protect that time when you're in deep work so that you can think clearly, solve problems at a higher level, and truly get the result that you're trying to get. This is actually the work that your role requires. Then, after you have some clear boundaries around your deep work, you pair that with clear availability hours. So take this for example, like You might say on a Monday and a Wednesday, my door is open from 1 to 3. You might say on Tuesday mornings, I'm focused and I'm not available for drop-ins. You see how this can be put on a calendar, this can be put in Teams, this can be a regular rhythm for you. You tell your team the rhythm, you dictate that rhythm, and you just let them know that this is how it serves you best. This is how it serves them best. You can even co-create some simple agreements with them, like non-urgent questions go into office hours, stand-ups. There can even be a shared document on Google or whatever system you're using. And an urgent issue, that might be a specific channel. Maybe it's a Slack, maybe it's a phone call, or maybe it's a chat channel. And if it's put in an email, that can be a 24-hour response because you're going to check your email, but it doesn't require this immediate response. Some might think doing this means you're less caring, and it's not that at all. This is you being a lot more intentional. When your team knows when and how to reach you, they feel more secure, not less, because you've set the rhythm and the rules are clear. They don't have to guess when it's okay to bother you, or if you're going to be in a grumpy mood, or if you're going to be happy. It's predictable knowledge. Now let's talk about what your team actually needs from you. What is the psychological safety that they can expect, not just an open door policy? Your people don't just need access to your calendar. That psychological safety is necessary because if they pop in and it's a horrible experience, it's unlikely that they're going to do it again. And you may miss some important vital information if your team is concerned about when they should approach you or when not, if your nervous system is leading. Okay. Psychological safety means, because I want to define it and make sure everybody is on the same page, it means it's safe for me to speak up. It means that it's safe for your team to ask for help. It means that it's safe to say, as a team member, I'm not okay, or I made a mistake, and I'm not sure how to fix this. You can create that without being constantly interrupted. That is absolutely possible. You do it by how you respond when people come to you. Now, when someone brings you a concern, start with, thank you for bringing this to me. You see how that's immediately welcoming? It like opens the door. That's the true open door. When someone is allowed to admit a mistake, start with the curiosity instead of punishment. Don't make faces about it. Don't slam your hand in frustration. When someone is overwhelmed, normalize that instead of shaming it. Because we truly do all make mistakes. We're not always at 100 and in excellence. We can strive for it, but that doesn't mean we will always be there. You can build safety with some simple, regular check-ins. Ask your team, what's one thing making work harder than it needs to be? What's one thing making it harder right now? Because everyone knows wherever you've been on the totem pole, most people have received directives or new ideas that nobody wants, that make things excessively difficult. You could ask, what's one support that would make your week 10% easier? Now it doesn't have, because we may not necessarily be able to resolve everything, but that little bit of relief could be really helpful. Do you notice how none of this requires you to be available 24/7? It just requires emotionally present. Some emotional presence. I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words today. And consistency. because if you're emotionally present and consistent, they know who you are and they know how to interact. Your tone matters. It's not just what you say. Your body language matters. Your nervous system matters. When you can show up grounded, your team feels more permission to be honest with you. Now let's talk about your nervous system, because I've mentioned that already previously. You cannot lead well from constant fight, flight, or freeze. If your body is always on high alert, it becomes much harder to listen, much harder to think clearly, much harder to offer wise support or to access that wisdom that you've gained through so much experience. So part of being an available leader that's regulated is becoming that regulated leader. That means building tiny little regulation rituals into your day. You notice I didn't mention 30 minutes of meditation, but just tiny little resets. Say, for example, if it's before a tough one-on-one, just take 60 seconds. Put your feet on the floor. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Exhale slowly for a count of 6. And repeat that a few times. Make sure your shoulders are drooping. Notice how your breath feels going in, coming out. You can slow it down or speed it up. Sometimes you might need a and sometimes it might be a slow. You don't need 20 minutes of meditation. You need small, repeatable resets. That's going to recharge you and ground you. You can also design your environment to support your nervous system and your teams. Imagine having a resilience room in your workplace. I have one in my office, and I tell my team all the time that if you need to come in, just ask me to leave. You know, when it's that time that you can interrupt me and you need that room, feel free to enter it. Have warm lighting instead of harsh fluorescence. Plants tend to soften spaces. Maybe there's a water feature or a gentle sound. There are comfortable chairs that aren't overly complicated. You could have printed cards with some quick grounding practices, beautiful words to inspire, to ground, to calm, short articles. You could have visual stress relief and other things for burnout recovery. Maybe even some noise canceling headphones so that they can listen to different things. Just a space where people are allowed to pause, to breathe, to be able to reset their nervous system without guilt. And I'll share just kind of what's in my space. I have a greenery wall. I have a Zen garden. I have little manipulatives all throughout. So there's rocks, there's Play-Doh, there's little slinkies, um, little pinwheels. There's a magic wand that I like to call where sand of different colors shifts. I have a water feature, and there's some other things, some coloring books. So I have uh, a room where people can reset. And I also, since I couldn't change the lighting fixture, I have a scene of a forest that's draped over the lights. And I got that online. Another thing you can begin to do is suggest walking meetings instead of sitting ones, where you're not just sitting at a screen being restless. And you don't even necessarily, have to go outside, it could be walking throughout the building. But I'd recommend try the walking meetings outside. You can build in 2-minute breathing breaks before any high stakes meeting. You can actually begin your meeting by taking a cleansing, grounding breath. You don't have to jump right into the meat of everything. When you do this, you are telling your team with your actions, your nervous system matters more. Rest and regulation, they aren't luxuries. It's built into the fabric of how we work, how we operate. You're telling them that they are part of how we work. Now, let's talk about being able to resource your team to ensure that they have something outside of you as well to get their needs met. And this can be really crucial. I'm not going to negate the fact that you are a leader, but you are not their therapist, their shaman, and you are not a 24/7 crisis line. And truth be told, when you do run across people that need that, sometimes they just want to be absolved of their responsibilities and get you all dysregulated and creating a new plan where they can be calm and relaxed and not responsible for some work. Is that a little jaded? Yes. And sometimes I am a little jaded. So part of resilient leadership is knowing where your support ends and where professional support begins. When someone brings you something really heavy, like a mental health crisis, trauma history, or any situation that is just clearly beyond your training, beyond your scope, that's when you need to redirect. I have a client who is an Episcopal priest, and so she gets a lot. However, she used to be a former therapist, but she's not operating as a therapist. In that role, she's operating as a priest, and she shares that she clearly knows where her boundaries are, and she redirects those parishioners to professional help. So even if you do have the training, in your capacity, in your role, you don't have to take that on. You can redirect. Your job is not to fix it. Your job is to listen with compassion, validate that what they are feeling is actually real, and they don't have to just suck it up and push it down just so that they can function and get through the day. Connect them to the right resources. Your HR should have it. And if you're working on a small team, connect with local agencies and ask them for their resource list and just have it available in your office. That might be your employee assistance program. It might be HR for them. That might be a benefits or well-being program that your organization already offers so that you are not the only resource available to them. And now, if you don't know what exists, start there. Find out for yourself. Ask HR and benefits for a list of what are the EAP services, what services are in the local area, what are the mental health and coaching resources. Are there any resilience, well-being, or peer support programs in place? Turn that gap into a one-page resource list for your team. You may have to weed out a few things because you know they may not be useful to your team. So you can normalize help seeking and not just talking about it and actually give them the list of where to go. You can also invite your EAP or your HR team to give a talk, or possibly even create a video explaining what the EAP services are, how they interact with them, and what they can expect when they do interact for it. Because a lot of times people don't use services because they're unclear of exactly what it's about or how it's going to operate. This would allow them to answer anonymous questions. It demystifies the EAP session. And what happens when someone actually calls or signs up online for the service? When a team member is struggling, you can say, this sounds like it's really important for you. I care about you. And I care about you having the best support possible. And I know that's not me. Some of this is beyond my lane as your leader. I want to connect you with EAP, HR, whatever the appropriate resource is. Fill in the blank. Because you deserve someone trained in this. You see how you're not dismissing them? You're not dismissing their needs. You're not dismissing their emotions. You're validating them, but you're giving them the real help that they need. You don't have to try and figure out things that you have no training in, no wisdom, no guidance. Nor do you have to open yourself up to explain a similar situation you had or how another employee handled it. Just get them where they need to go. That is a loving, caring response. It shows that you care about your team. It's not rejection. That is responsible care. Even me being a licensed therapist, there are some disorders that I just don't have any training in whatsoever. Nothing beyond the surface level training that I had in my graduate and doctorate program. So if someone comes to me with eating disorder issues, you can guarantee I will be referring them to an eating disorder clinic, or a therapist that specializes in eating disorders, because I don't know. Does that diminish me? No, that's me being honest about my skill set and ensuring that they get to the right place, because there's nothing more damaging than having someone to continually have to tell the story over and over again. If they get to the right space, this allows them to tell the tale one time and get relief rather than redirection and have to keep telling that story over and over again. Because if they do, what actually happens is they feel a catharsis from repeating it over and over, and sometimes they just give up because, I got a little bit of relief and I don't feel like bringing somebody else into this. Sometimes shame begins to set in. When you model that you actually have limits and you start honoring those limits, it is a part of healthy leadership, not a failure. Begin to develop your resilient and available leader blueprint. This is specific to you and what you need in order to continue and just be a good leader. So let's begin to bring this home. Take a moment. Begin to imagine your ideal rhythm as a leader. Ask yourself this key question. What are my deep work hours each week? Does it happen a certain time? When will I block them off on my calendar? Make sure that you turn off your notifications. That's really important. And you have to protect them. Protect them as if they were a meeting with your future self. Protect them like you would protect somebody else's time, because most of the time you respect other people's time. Then ask yourself, what are my true open hours for my team? When can people walk in? When can they message me? When can they call? And know that they're not interrupting you, because this is time for them. You've set it aside so it doesn't begin to bleed into something else. Next, ask yourself, what is one resilient structure that I can pilot within myself for the next 30 days? What's a resilient structure that you can pilot for your team and begin to redirect them to, that you can learn about? Maybe it's creating a small resilience corner in your room, someplace that you can tuck away and actually get some restoration. Maybe it's starting meetings with a 60-second grounding ritual, and that can be just simply a breath and a couple of deep breaths and asking them to notice that their feet are on their floor and how it feels to sit in the chair. Doesn't take long, it's just a short reset. Maybe it's adding one question to your check-ins about workload and stress. Maybe it's having a predictable time when you check in with them about workload, stress, and systemic issues, how their work can be made a little bit easier. Remember, we talked about that 10% easier. And where is my support line? At what point will I say this needs to be EAP or HR or possibly another professional resource? When you answer these questions honestly, when you're no longer leading from constant reaction, you are leading from design because that's your blueprint. You structured it that way. You become resilient, you become available, and you are no longer depleted. Your team can depend on you. Now, if this conversation is landing for you, if you're realizing I have been over-available and under-resourced, you are exactly who Phoenix Rising was created for. It's created for women, and it's to help you begin to rest, reset, and rise. So you can lead from overflow and not obligation. So if you're ready to build real resilience in your nervous system, hold your boundaries without guilt. If you want to be the kind of leader who is present without burning out, then join Phoenix Rising VIP Access. We're going to start here soon with some breath work. Inside, you'll get resources to help you design your availability, protect your deep work hours, create resilience that actually fit your real life. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to apologize for your limits. You're not mean. You are done abandoning yourself. There's going to be a link to join Phoenix Rising VIP Access, and let this be the moment that you choose to lead differently. Not from exhaustion, not from overwhelm, not from constant emergency, but from resilience, from clarity, and from a nervous system that finally feels like home. I'll see you inside Phoenix Rising. Until next time, I'm Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson. This has been Leadership Beyond Burnout, and you can find us here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time and 2 p.m. Pacific. Until next